welcome to today's lesson. My name is Happiness Indewe, and today our topic is reading for summary in the theme reading. Before we look at our lesson for today, let's take a look at the objectives we have for this lesson. By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to define summary, identify main ideas or topic sentences from passages, identify supporting ideas, and summarize paragraphs and passages after reading. Now let's go into our lesson for today. Before we start, it's important for us to know what the word summary is all about. So when you hear the word summary, what comes to your mind? Well, a summary is simply the short version of a long essay, passage, or a book. It entails the main points of the writing that has been expressed in its paragraphs. Now, what this means is that we can summarize an essay of 5 paragraphs into 5 sentences, or a book of 100 pages into 15 pages, depending on the opinions shared by the writer. So, a summary is simply the short version of a longer piece of writing. Not just a short version, but a short version which contains or entails the vital details in the original writing, contains the most important details of that writing. Now, what is summary writing? Summary writing, therefore, is the process of putting together the main points of an essay in short statements. When we write summaries, we use our own words to express the important details of the main writing, and we do this as briefly as possible. Now, remember that we had learned or we had studied summary writing in the theme writing. So this is just like a recap of what we studied in that lesson. Summary writing simply has to do with putting down the main points of a longer essay, putting down the main ideas or the most important details of a longer writing. And we do this as simple and as short as possible. Now, today's topic deals with reading for summary. You're reading with the intention of summarizing what you have read. Now, we read for summary when we take note of just the important points in a passage after reading. That is simply what reading for summary means. When you read through a piece of writing or a book, and then you take down or take note of the most important details from what you have read. So when you read for summary, your intention or your purpose is to have a summary of what you have read. It is therefore important that we consider the following as we read, because they will help us summarize our readings better. First of all, we should take note of the main idea or the topic sentence. And what is the main idea? This is the most important idea in the writing or the focus of the passage. So when we talk about the main idea is simply the most important point of a piece of writing, maybe a book or a passage or a paragraph, a short paragraph. The main idea is the most important point or the heart or the focus of that piece of writing. Also, when reading for summary, it's very necessary for us to take note of the main idea, which is also known as the topic sentence. This will help us to write better summaries. Our next point is supporting ideas. We also should take note of supporting ideas as we read through its text, especially when we have the intention of summarizing or having a summary at the end of that reading. Now, what are supporting ideas? These are details that help us understand the main idea by explaining or describing it. We also talked about supporting ideas when we did reading for main or supporting ideas. These are ideas or details that further explain what the main idea is all about. They describe by giving examples, by giving illustrations about the main idea. Illustrations that would further explain what the main idea is talking about. We also should take note of supporting ideas as we read for summary. Now, let us look at how to identify topic sentences or main ideas as we read, because this will help us when we read for summary. It's very important for us to learn how to identify main ideas or topic sentences when we read for summary. Now, let's look at this paragraph on the board. It's a short one, but we will try to draw out the topic sentence from it. Now, it reads, the students had fun on their field trip. They visited the zoo and a certain fish farm. They were able to see monkeys and turtles at the zoo. At the fish farm, they saw how the farmers fed the fish with fish feed. Afterwards, they ate lunch in a beautiful restaurant and then went home. Now, can you identify the topic sentence from this paragraph on the board? It's quite simple. As we said earlier, the topic sentence of a passage is the main point of the passage. This is the first thing that should come to your mind when you want to identify or pick out the topic sentence from a passage or a paragraph. Just simply remember that the main idea or the topic sentence is the main point of that passage. Now, from the passage or from the paragraph above, we can say that the topic sentence or main idea is the fact that the students had fun on their field trip. Why have I said so? Because this is the focus of the paragraph. Everything stated in this paragraph describes or tells us how the students had fun on their field trip. Now, let's read the paragraph again. The students had fun on their field trip. They visited the zoo and a certain fish farm. They were able to see monkeys and turtles at the zoo. At the fish farm, they saw how the farmers fed the fish with fish feed. Afterwards, they ate lunch in a beautiful restaurant and went home. Everything I've underlined here tells us or shows how the students had fun. Tells us about places they visited, the things they saw, and so on. So we can say that the focus of this paragraph on the board, or the main idea, is the fact that the students had fun on their field trip. So this is how to identify topic sentences as we read paragraphs, texts, or passages. When we are able to identify topic sentences as we read, writing good summaries become an easy task, because the main idea or topic sentence will guide us as we write our summaries. Remember, we said earlier that the summary of a writing is a short form of that writing which contains the main points. And when talking about main points, we cannot leave the main idea or the topic out of our summaries. So we should be able to identify main ideas or topic sentences as we read. Now, let's see how to identify supporting ideas. We talked about supporting details, and we said that these are details that explain or describe what the main idea is all about. They tell us more about the main idea. They are either examples, illustrations, explanations, or descriptions that would help us understand the main idea better. It is also important that we take time to identify supporting ideas as we read, just as I've said. Supporting ideas strengthen our summaries. This is very important. They strengthen our summaries and add value to it because they further explain the main ideas. Now let's see how to identify them in reading or when we read. Cross Rivers is a very beautiful state. It is located in southern Nigeria. There are lots of beautiful tourist sites in Cross Rivers, like the Obudu Mountain Resort, formerly known as Obudu Cattle Ranch, the Marina Resort, Tinapa Resort, among others. A visit to Cross River State should be considered for the holidays. Now, if you look closely at this paragraph we have just read, we would find out the main idea and supporting ideas. Before we identify supporting ideas, can we identify the main ideas? Yes, we can. From this paragraph, we can say that Cross Rivers is a very beautiful state, stands as the main idea. Because every other thing in the paragraph simply tells us why Cross River State is a very beautiful state. They further explain why we have said that Cross River State is a beautiful state. So that is the main idea. That is the focus of the paragraph. Now let's identify other supporting ideas. Ideas that support the fact that Cross River State is a very beautiful state. We can say that there are lots of beautiful tourist sites in Cross River State, like the Obudu Resort, formerly known as the Obudu Cattle Ranch, the Marina Resort, Tinapa Resort, among others. If you look closely at these colored sentences, you'll find that they tell us what we can find in Cross River State that make the state beautiful, or that has made us say the state is a very beautiful state. We listed them here: the Obudu Mountain Resort, the Marina Resort, Tinapa Resort. So these are supporting ideas because they support the fact that Cross River State is a very beautiful state, which is the main idea. So this is how to identify supporting ideas. They simply throw more light on the main idea by explaining it or by describing the main idea. Now let's look at some tips that would help us as we read for summary. When our aim is to summarize what we have read, there are some things that we should take note of. And firstly, we should read through the passage or text. This is very, very important when we read for summary, because we cannot summarize what we have not read through and properly understood. It shouldn't just end at reading or just reading through a passage or text. As we read, we should ensure that we understand what we have read. Where we do not understand, we should read through over and over again. It is therefore important for us to read through the passage or text carefully. When we do this, we take note of the content of the text or passage and thoroughly understand what it is about. And you know that when we understand what the text is about, summarizing it or drawing a summary from it becomes something very easy to do. So first and foremost, we read through the passage carefully. Now, after reading through the passage, another thing we should do is Highlight or underline important ideas. After reading the passage with a task of summarizing it, it is necessary to read it a second time while highlighting important details, such as the main idea and supporting ideas. As you read through, it's important for you to identify the main ideas of what you're reading and supporting ideas. So highlight them any way you know how best to do so. You can do so by underlining them, or by circling them, or by taking note of them as you read, probably in your jotter or in another book altogether. We can highlight such details, just as I've said, by using a pencil to mark the portion of the passage where they can be found. This will enable us to locate the details easily when doing our summary writing. Now, this is very important because we know that some passages could be very long. Some textbooks or some books we read could be quite voluminous. So it's very important that as we read through, we mark out those important details so that we would easily find them when we want to put our summary together. If we do not mark them or highlight them, it will be difficult for us to find out where they actually are located in the text or in the passage, especially when it is a long piece of writing. So it's very important to highlight those important points. Another thing to do as we read for summary or for the purpose of summarizing is to take note of the 5 W's and H elements of the passage. Now, what are these elements? 5 W's and H elements simply refer to 1. The person or people talked about in the passage. Now, this is the who. The who is the first W. Take note of the person or people which the passage talks about. Also take note of the major actions that occurred in the passage. That is, what happened in the passage. Major actions. The what is the second W. Thirdly, we take note of where actions took place. Where is the third W. And then we take note of when the actions happened. When becomes the fourth W. At what time did an action take place? Was it stated in the text? If it was, it is important for us to take note of it also. And then we also take note of the reason for the action. That is, why. Why did it happen? Why did the action take place? The why becomes the fifth W. So we have 5 W's here. And then the H element is how. How did it happen? How did the action take place? So here we find that we have 5 W's and H elements. Using these elements to examine what we are reading will help us write good summaries. By the time you note who, what, when, where, and why an action takes place or took place, and then you also note how the action took place, writing your summary becomes interesting because these elements form the basic or the most important ideas we should draw from a passage or text as we read. Another thing we should do is to leave out minor details and explanations when writing summaries. Minor details and explanations are not necessary. The aim of writing summaries is to create a shorter version of the original work, which also entails most important details. The most important details, or the details that are very, very necessary. That is the aim of writing summaries. So when we put in all the details of the original work, our summary will not be too different from the main text. When you put in all the details from the initial or from the original writing, from what you have read, you put back all those details in your summary, you find out that your summary will not be different from what you have read. You just repeated the same thing. We therefore should ensure that we leave out minor details and explanations that do not matter so much in the text. Instead of repeating what the author has said in your summary, simply pick out the most important details from what you have read to make up your summary. That is what makes for good summary writing. We've come to the end of our lesson today on reading for summary. Now let's take a look at all we have learned today. Today we said that a summary is the short version of a long essay, passage, or book. We also said that the topic or main idea is the most important idea in the writing. And then we talked about supporting ideas and said they are those details that provide explanations for the main idea. And then we looked at some tips that will help us write good summaries, and we said that they include the fact that we should read the passage or text carefully, highlight important details, take note of the 5 W's and H elements, and then leave out minor details. Now let's look at the test section of our lesson for today. Question 1 says, which of these will help us write good summaries? A, explain the passage in detail. B, highlight the main points of the passage. C, repeat everything the author has said. The correct answer is B, highlight the main points of the passage. This will help us write good summaries. Remember, we said that when writing summaries, we do not repeat everything the author has said in the original text. We simply pick out the main points to make up our summary. So if you picked B, you are correct. Our second question says, when we write summaries, it is important that we do the following except A, take note of the 5 W's and H elements of the passage. B, read the passage carefully. C, underline the title of the passage. The correct answer is C, underline the title of the passage. It is important that we take note of the 5 W's and H elements of the passage. It is also important that we read the passage carefully. So this is the odd answer out. Underlining the title of the passage does not help us write good summaries. So if you picked C, you are correct. And here ends our lesson for today on reading for summaries. Thank you for watching and see you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to our channel. You can also turn on notifications to stay updated on new videos on this channel. This Brain Friend video was brought to you by Synforest. For more of these amazing e-learning videos, get your copy of Brain Friend. With more than 1,000 e-learning videos, over 74,000 test items in more than 40 subjects, a career counseling guide, and many other amazing features, BrainFriend remains your foremost e-learning and exam preparatory software. BrainFriend. Learn better, make excellent grades.